This week's enrichment lesson takes what we've been working on the last few days and we're going to take it to the next level. This is actually an 8th grade lesson, but I thought since we've been doing this step by step, we give it a try, and I know there's a lot of bright students in this grade, so I think you guys will catch on very quickly. So the whole idea here is you're going to be taking these equations that you've been coming up with from tables, and we are going to graph them on the coordinate grid. And it might look like a lot right now, but it's actually very, very simple, and this is the whole idea. Is we have been using this, even though you've not been aware of it, that every time you come up with a rule, for example, we took the equation y equals 2x, we have been getting ready to plot this on a coordinate grid because of what the equation itself has. And this is called Slope-Intercept Form, and it shows you basically symbols on where to begin and what your slope is going to be. Alright, so I made this little text box to break it down even simpler. So when you have your slope, alright, so that was what your rate was, your rule, so it was timesing by 2, right? This is what it means, alright? So you see how there is an m in front of x, alright? So 2 is our slope, and that goes back to the equation up above, alright? And what a slope does is it tells you how much to go up and how much to go over. Alright, and you might be a little confused right now because you only see one number, and that is correct, but the whole idea is every number is always a fraction over 1. So if you don't see a fraction in front of your x, you can always add a 1 as the denominator. And just take a look at the examples over here for a second. So you'll see there we have 3, so for that one you could add a 3 over 1. This one has the 2, we just did that one over here, but take a look over there, you see that has 2/3 x. That one's already set up to go up and over, and this one has the 1/2 x, and that one's already set up to go up and over. Alright, so what that means is you're going to go across and then you're going to go up. Alright, and I'll show you that step by step in just a minute. Alright, so that's how we read. This is basically like a little code, and once you understand the pattern, it's really easy to do. Alright, so what I've done here is just broken this down even simpler by pretending we're just looking at a slope itself. Alright, so what I want you guys to do now is think, if an equation has a slope of 3, what does it mean? Alright, so that means that the 3 there is in front of x. Alright, and then based off of the equation, alright, the slope again is up and over. Alright, so this means you're going to go up 3, but there's no number underneath, so you need to add that 1. Alright, so that's what that means. It means you would go over 1 and up 3. Alright, so in a minute when we graph this, you're going to go over 1 and then up 1, 2, 3. And that's where you're going to make your next point. Alright, so that's how that works. Alright, let's take a look at the next example. Alright, so the next example is if an equation has a slope of 2/3. Alright, so I'm going to write that here. So 2/3 x. Alright, so notice how that's already set up, right? So it means that I go over, I always think of the under first, underneath, alright? So the bottom number is 3, so I'm going over 3, and then I'm going up 2. Alright, so once I start graphing, I'm going to be going over 1, 2, 3 from my starting point, and then I'm going to be going up 1, 2, and then I'm going to be making my dot. Alright, and that's how we're going to be using these. Alright, next one, let's take a look. If an equation is y equals 2x, let me rewrite that here. Alright, so y equals 2x. Alright, what does that mean? Alright, there's only an up, right? There's only an up number. I need to add the over number underneath. Alright, so it means it has a slope of 2, and it will go over 1 and up 2. So after I find my starting point, it is going to go over 1 and then up 2. 1, 2, and then I would connect my dots. Alright, and then the last one, you'll see that it says if an equation has y equals 1/2 x, alright, minus 1, we're not going to worry about the minus 1 right now, but this is my slope in front of my x, right? My blue number would be 1/2, and what does that mean? It means I go over first and then up second, right? So it means it has a slope of 1/2, which means going over 2 and up 1. So wherever my starting point is, I'm going to go over 2 first, and then I'm going to go up 1. And then that's where I connect my dots. Alright, so You understand the slope now, hopefully, and now the only other step is going to be adding in that starting point. All right, that'll make sense in a second here. So let's take a look at that. So since it's called the starting point, let's start with that. All right, so let's see what we have here in our examples. We have 3x minus 2. All right, so you see it says plus b, so it doesn't mean be confused. What it means is just look at the number after the slope, and you see how that's negative 2. That's where your starting point is. So find minus 2 on the y-axis, okay? And there's your origin. You always think there first, right? And then it's down 2. So negative 2 is right there. All right, I didn't mean to put a dot there. All right, so that's where I'm going to start, is on negative 2. That's my starting point. And now I'm going to use my slope. All right, so how do I do that again? I need an over and an under. It doesn't have the number underneath, and so I need to add it. Okay, so now from my starting point, I'm going to go over 1, and now I'm going to go up 3. So 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to make my dot there. All right, now I'm going to do it again to find another point. So I'm going to go over 1 and up 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I am going to connect the dots. All right, so not the best connection there. I don't have a ruler to use here, so you just got to do a good job using your finger if you're using your tablets. All right, so I'm going to get that again, do that a little bit better, hopefully. There we go. All right, it doesn't have to be perfect, but make it close. And then I can always check my work, right, in my equation. So what was my equation? Y equals 3x minus 2. So pretend x is 2, right? And this was plugging it in a previous math, Go Math lesson, right? So if I have 2 3's, that would be 6 minus 2 equals 4. So y would equal 4 when x equals 2. So take a look. When x equals 2, my y is 4. There it is up there, so that means it's correct. And that's how I graph the equation. All right, take a look at the next one. What do I have? All right, so y equals 2/3 x plus 1. So what do I do first? Starting point, what's my number after the slope? It's plus 1, so I find that in my y-intercept. There it is. And now I'm going to use the slope. All right, this one's already set up. I already have a number underneath to go over, and then I have a number to go up. So let's do it. How many am I going over? 3. So 1, 2, 3. How many am I going up? 2. 1, 2. So there's my next point. If I was to continue over here, 1, 2, 3, up 2, it's off the grid, right? So what I want to do now is go the other direction, all right? So I can go the opposite way, right? And then down the opposite way for up, all right? So I'm going to go over 3 the other way, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go down, 1, 2, and there would be my next dot. And then you can see how I have my 3 dots, and I'm going to connect my line there. Right, so you should always have 3 dots when you're connecting your lines, just because it makes it, straighter and a little bit more accurate. Next example, what do I have? So y equals 2x. All right, this one looks a little bit different, right? Because I don't have a starting point, but I do. All right, so remember, anytime in math when there's nothing there, you can always add a 0. All right, so this basically means it's starting on the origin. All right, so y equals 0. All right, it's right here in the middle. All right, so you'll get used to that. Anytime there's not a y-intercept that's shown, it just means 0. And now I do the same thing. I need that up and over. I only have the up, so I need to add the over. All right, put it over 1. And so now I'm going to go over 1 and then up 2. So to do that, I'm going to go over 1, up 2, 1, 2. And then I make my dot. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go over 1, up 2. And then I'm going to make my dot. And this one's really easy for checking your work, right? Because let's say that x is 2. I put it in for x. 2 times x is 4. And you'll see that connects perfectly to my graph. There's my dot and my origin. Now I'm going to connect the dots. That's how I graph my equation. Okay, one more to go. All right, so y equals mx plus b. What do I have in this case? 1/2 x minus 1. All right, so for my starting point, I'm going to cover my slope and just look at my y-intercept, and that's -1. So I'm going to find -1 on my y-axis. And again, that is the up and down line and not the across line. All right, and now I'm going to use my slope. It's already in slope form, right, with the over and under, two numbers up above and below. So now I go over 2, 1, 2, and I go up 1. All right, over 2, 1, 2, up 1. And now I connect my dots, and there we go. All right, so that's how you're going to do it. You're going to have another worksheet very similar to the ones that I just went over, but they're going to be different numbers. Any questions, let me know. I know it is a little bit more advanced, and so it doesn't have to be perfect to get a good score today. So just try your best. Any questions, let me know, and have at it.